Researchers created a human-pig hybrid. Should it be treated like a pig, like a human, or at what ratio of human to animal cells? With the news cycle understandably focused on the early Trump administration, an important non Trump story did not receive the attention it deserves. Recently, researchers created a human pig hybrid. This creature is called a chimera, a name Merriam-Webster says taken from a monster in Greek mythology that was part lion, goat, and serpent. The research was published in the journal Cell and reported in National Geography and Science Daily. To create this chimera, the researchers fertilized a pig embryo, then inserted human stem cells. The human cells were pluripotent stem cells, meaning that they can develop into cells of any type. For example, given the right conditions, a pluripotent stem cell could develop into a neuron, a heart muscle cell, or a skin cell. So the human stem cells combined with the pig cells, creating a single human pig creature, albeit with many more pig cells than human cells. The researchers allowed the chimeras they created to gestate in a pig for 3 to 4 weeks before terminating them for further study. The researchers' someday goal for this line of research is to end the need for organ donation. Say a patient suffers from kidney failure. If the chimera research sufficiently progressed, then a doctor could simply harvest cells from that patient and combine them with a pig embryo to make a sort of personal chimera. The chimera would then gestate, be born, and grow into adulthood, hopefully at the accelerated pace of pigs. If the research met our hopes, the now adult chimera would have fully human organs of the same genetic makeup as our patient. The chimera's kidneys would then be harvested and transplanted to our patient, who could then expect a full recovery. The immediate benefits over organ donation are obvious. No wait, and thus no patients dying on organ donation waiting lists, much lower coordination costs because the chimera's organs could be harvested at a predictable time and place, and no chance of organ rejection by the patient's body since the organs would be genetically matched to the patient. Let's tilt the experiment a bit. But putting aside this progress and potential for a moment, our researcher friends seem to have given short shrift to preliminary question. Imagine, instead of announcing they have created a mostly pig chimera, our researchers had announced the creation of a chimera comprising a single pig cell in an otherwise all human cell body. They then detailed their plan to gestate this mostly human chimera for 9 months, mature it for 18 years, and then promptly harvest its organ. Such an announcement would not be warmly received. Indeed, I expect we would respond with condemnation. If this expectation were true, then it seems we should have answered the following question before we traveled down the chimera rabbit hole. How much of a human can a creature be before it's human? This is not an eagles on the head of a pin question, or angels on the head of a pin question. The mostly pig chimeras our friends actually created were treated like animals. They were gestated in a pig, deliberately killed after roughly a month of development, dissected for study, then discarded. Moreover, the destiny of their descendants is to have their organs harvested by us and solely for our benefit. In contrast, the hypothetical mostly human chimera could not be treated in like manner without someone committing several felonies. Therefore, drawing the correct line between these two creatures is of grave importance. We need a criteria for determining human versus animal. Yet, to draw this line, we cannot simply rely on the number of human cells in the chimera, as in the more human cells the creature has, the more human it is. In other circumstances, the mere number of cells in a creature doesn't make it more or less of what it is. A fertilized human egg is an individual human, despite the fact that this human is, for a short time, only one cell. The principle works for born humans too. If a child grows 6 inches taller, or a soldier suffers the misfortune of losing a limb, they don't become more or less human, respectively. What meaningful criterion compels us to treat the chimera's case differently? We cannot rely on the sheer percentage of human cells that make up the chimera. That is, if 51% of the chimera is human, then it is human. What if at one stage of the chimera's development it is composed of 50% of human cells, but at a later stage, say right before we harvest its organs, that number grows to 51%? Was the chimera not a human at the early stage, but was a human, although perhaps an inconvenient one, at the later stage? In any event, what if 51% human composition were the threshold required to make the chimeras useful? The researchers plainly admit that they need to create chimeras with many more human cells, indeed with fully human organs, in order to solve the organ donation problem. Finally, we can't draw the line based on the type of human cells that make up the chimera. That is, if the chimera does not have a brain made of human neurons, then it's not human. A newly fertilized human egg doesn't have a brain, yet it is still a human. So it can't be true that real humans are human, actually just human brains in organic jars called bodies. Also remember that human cells in the chimera were pluripotent stem cells. These cells can develop into any type of cells in the body, including neurons. We need to know before we move forward. Candidly, I'm not convinced that the mostly pig chimera was actually human, although I'm convinced that my hypothetical mostly human chimera would be a human. Nevertheless, I am unable clearly define the line separating these two creatures, and it is unfortunately seems our friends haven't defined it for us either. Then we are faced with such a grave question. When exactly is the object of our manipulation a beast and when is it a brother? Acting before answering is not the correct response, even when the benefits are extraordinary. One of the researchers commented on this scientific breakthrough by noting that in ancient civilizations, chimeras were associated with God. The chimeric form can guard humans. Perhaps that's a true interpretation of ancient mythology, but let's speak plainly. The chimeras we create in our labs would not be guardians. They would either be quasi-miraculous organic medical devices, or they would be our slaves. Discerning which of these two opinions we are dealing with is absolutely essential, even for researchers that don't have moral objections to mixing human and animal. Well, this is an incredible article. This is really nothing new. It's simply raising the question once again. I, of course, address this in my book, Corrupting the Image. And there, I believe that what we're looking at here, these chimeric creatures that are being created, is the base of the mark of the beast. And ultimately, when they create the image of the beast, it will be something of this nature. I think it's very dangerous, although I do understand the rationale. They want to help people, they want to create organs. But I think we're going on a line that's very, very fine, and it's not going to end well ultimately. So my recommendation is that we stick with the word. We look to God to heal us. Sure, we can use medical science, but not by mixing pigs with humans. We should not put pig in us. God said to stay away from pig. And here's one classic example of where we should definitely heed that advice. Even if people want to eat it, which I don't think they should, but you should definitely not put pig DNA right into your own DNA. Bad mix every time, going to end poorly. Take care. God bless.